Sir Class, this is our case study presentation by Cadets James Downey and myself, Aaron Howell. We will be going over course concepts covered in EM411 to analyze, present some findings, and then give some recommendations on this given scenario that provided. Next slide. So first, to go into the background of this scenario that we were provided, Fargo Foods. This is a $2 billion food company that specializes in food manufacturing of meats, poultry, fish, vegetables, and vitamins. Something else to know is that for the last 8 years, they've been constantly growing or had a growth rate of 12.5% due to experiencing low overhead costs in foreign companies. And Fargo Foods' aim is to increase business productivity while not increasing the labor. So in order to do this, they are trying to take projects and use that to increase efficiency and effectiveness. In 2000, so one of their methods of doing this, in 2000, they implemented a project management system, and that was deemed in 2004. So we're going to look into why that was so, specifically focusing on the project organization component of that. And lastly, one of the ways that they take up these projects is that from anywhere in the company, something will be suggested, and then it will go to a planning group, and that planning group will decide if it is feasible or not, and if it is deemed feasible, then they'll throw a project manager in there, and then they'll go ahead and take up that project and try to implement it. Okay, next slide. So to go into project organizations, what this is a specialization of human elements. So this is aligning your staff and individuals in the best places that they can be aligned. So this is matching up talents with the right place and position to make sure that you're being effective and efficient. In addition to functional division, firms may organize by business processes, subsidiary organizations, time, geographic location, production process, and vertical or horizontal integration. So the three major organizational forms of project organization are functional, projectized, and matrix organization. Functional is where you would put staffers in specific sectors, which would report to an overarching project manager. Projectized is where forms have support groups that report to the president and or CEO, and there are various standalone projects, and then lastly you have matrix, which is a combination of both. So this is a hybrid that takes the advantages of both projectized and functional organization and avoids the disadvantages of those two. We'll go into more of the advantages and disadvantages of each that we found, but some are maximum amount of flexibility of staff, experience, and expertise among knowledge and staffers. And for this, I will be followed by James Downey.
Hey, thanks, Aaron, for a great intro and a great discussion on what a project organization should look like. Unfortunately for Fargo Foods, they are none of that. As you can see from this big jambalaya of a organizational structure, there's no real cut lines of communication or chain of command. We'll get into it a little bit later, but no one really knows who to report to. The project managers are talking directly to the line employees. The line managers are in competition with the planning group and the project managers. And now you've got this weird new group, the estimators, who are trying to estimate how other people are doing their jobs, and it's a bit of a mess. This hoopla that you see on this slide here was the best that we could come up with after carefully analyzing the questions and answers given to us in the case study. As it's evident that there is no clear chain of command.
Excuse me. Okay, so for this, what we found, what works within the company, so the advantages, first starting off with management, speed of estimation. So these for Fargo Foods, they're able to roll around and get quick estimates from line managers, and that was probably due to their expertise. And as well, they had all the necessary organizations and committees, just no synchronization or organization of those specific components. And then individually, there was a lot of technical expertise, including the project managers who were also deemed as subject matter experts. So everyone knew what they were doing. It was just a big issue with coordination. And then the ability to expedite work. So in a given example, even when under a time crunch, the company and the individuals were able to come together and kind of grind out their work in order to meet a deadline. But again, this just goes back into the coordination within Fargo Foods.
And cheers, Aaron, for talking about what works. Unfortunately, again, for Fargo Foods, not a lot works. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work, I should say. And we're going to start here talking about the management. So as we've touched on a lot, there's no real set structure. This leads to either too little oversight or too much. You know, the project managers are trying to take over the roles of technical managers. The employees are unsure of who to report to. They don't know if they should talk to directly to executives, or should they talk to the line manager? Should they talk to the product engineer? Who do they talk to? They don't know. And as Aaron touched on at the beginning, there's no clear path for a project. When an idea sprouts, the planning committee, they take hold of it. They go around, they get their estimates. Then the project managers try to get their 2 cents in. And talk about the estimates and give a budget, give a timeline. And then now we've got these estimators, they're coming in and they're giving their spiel. And it's just a big mess. And there's no clarity. And then the execs take it and then they try to make sense of this mess that they were given, and it turns out horribly. According to the case study, a lot of the times it doesn't go well. There's a lot of overruns and everything's going over schedule and over time. And this leads to a really incohesive environment. There's a lot of competition between the organizations. It's just a dog eat dog world in this company, it sounds like, where they're only looking out for themselves because they know that they're not dependent on each other. It's just whoever can get work done gets work done. It's sad to see. And this leads to a lot of problems with the individuals. Those who have taken PL 479 would know 2 major factors of stress in the workplace are job ambiguity and person environment fit. And job ambiguity is when you don't have a clear-cut role for your job, you don't really know what to do, and that stresses you out, and that creates a bit of insecurity, and you start setting up barriers, and you don't trust your coworkers as much as you should. And then secondly, person environment fit. It mentioned that for years Fargo Foods was taking the best technical managers and making them project managers, and ultimately this was hurting them because these now project managers wanted to go relive their glory days and tell the line employees what to do and how to do it, and they were overstepping their bounds, and they're not the right people for the job. And these sources of stress lead to a lot of ego and a lot of lack of trust of controls in the workplace. Some examples of that is project managers' involvement in the line manager work. The planning group is in competition with the project managers. The planning group's also in competition with the line managers, and then now you have the estimators coming in out of nowhere, and they're trying to do their thing. It's a big mess. So here's how we think we should fix it. We're going to go with the strong matrix organization. As you can see, there's a clear chain of command in this organization. The manager of the project managers, procurement, line managers, and design, they all report directly to the VP of engineering. And that dashed oval that you see there, that is whoever is going to be working on the project at the same time. So the project manager is going to be in charge of coordinating. They're going to be the musician of Mars, if you will, for a project, and they'll take care of that. And so that way, the project manager is encapsulating everything while the line employees and the planning group and the estimating can all still report to their respective heads, their respective managers, but the project manager is in charge of organizing and structuring those, in charge of everything. And so through this, we hope to reduce job ambiguity, promote a cohesive environment, and create clear channels of communication. Sir, class, this concludes our brief. Thank you very much for listening.